Ladies and gentlemen, please stand by. We will be getting started momentarily. Okay, if there's anybody out there on the webinar already, looks like we already have a few people on. If you could also dial in to the audio bridge. Just want to make sure that I'm coming in okay. I'm getting some reports that I can't be heard on the audio bridge. Please stand by. Still testing the audio on the audio conference. 1 second. All right, so it looks like we're all set. Let me just triple check something. All right, so it looks like we are all set. Let me go ahead and triple check something. Okay, I think we are good to go. One quick moment. Okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you guys for tuning in this afternoon or this evening. Again, this is Ricardo Suber. I apologize for the brief hold that we had at the beginning of this particular session. But with all that being said, I'm going to actually officially begin right now. So I am going to actually turn on the recording on our audio line. Looks like we're already up and running on our visuals. So that being said, give me one quick moment. I just figured out what the issue was. So here we go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome everybody to our third session of our social media mastery training. Again, this is Ricardo Suber. I want to thank all of you guys who are tuning in from all over the country. I think we might even have one person up in Canada also tuning in. So I want to thank you guys for tuning in. And this particular session is going to be all on prospecting. So we're really going to break this down, go into some detail, do a real deep dive into how you can actually use social media to prospect more effectively. And I think what a lot of you guys are going to really find valuable is the fact that since we've already put in 2 sessions already, the first being, and I'm going to actually advance the slide, the first being preparation. How do you prepare? Which sites do you want to join? Um, Also, what sorts of things you want to put on your profile. And then last week, going through how to provide really valuable content that's going to really add to the life of your viewers, of your prospects, of your potential business partners. That is, I would say, for lack of a better term, that's the bait that you'll need to really prospect effectively. And so, using those first 2 building blocks, you're going to find that prospecting on social media is so much easier. Those first 2, I guess, pillars were really meant for you to really start to prospect much, 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 much more effectively. So, that being said, prospecting in network marketing is the cornerstone of any network marketing business. Your cornerstone is to acquire customers and recruit others who will do the same. It's the example that is used all the time, such as with, if you own some sort of a franchise. Well, if you own your own franchise, that's great. You get to leverage the talents and abilities of other people who might work with you, but that's pretty much the extent of it. But even with traditional franchising, you really don't see the wealth factor factored in unless you have multiple locations. If you have multiple locations, each of which you're generating a small or even a medium-sized residual based on all the customers coming in, well, now you're starting to see money that flows to you regardless of what you do. And so that's what social media allows you to do, not only building belly to belly and traditionally, but also through social media. So again, like it says here, social media allows you to simply connect with more people with less effort. Less meaning it still requires effort, especially in the beginning, because you're doing a lot of setting up. Obviously, even before we started talking about prospecting, we still had 2 full weeks. We're just about halfway into our curriculum, but notice we didn't talk about prospecting at all. You still have to have those fundamentals down. Okay. But prospecting, I'm telling you, from this point forward, things are going to make much more sense and you're going to be able to connect with people much more effectively. So, there's 2 main types of prospecting. You guys probably already know this if you've been trained in your current MLM business, whatever that might be. The first type is warm market prospecting. Now, when you're prospecting your warm market, of course, these are people that you know. So, in order to use social media to connect with your warm market, you want to really make sure you're building your list. And like it says there, you want to connect with people from your past and also in your present. And you want to do things like use your yearbook. Really think back to all the people that you used to work with, past and present. Think about all those people that you may have done business deals with. For all of you guys who had some traditional businesses or business relationships in the past, think about those sorts of people. So, and of course, we're talking about friends and family as well. So people used to pal around with, people used to go partying with. I remember actually, my second business partner was a guy, we were just club buddies. I actually met him at a party and, we've always partied together. Like, hey, you going to the party tonight? Yeah, sure, I'll be there. And eventually over time, we became friends. So, people like that, these all comprise of your warm market. Now, mind you, it's easiest to connect with them. It's easiest to connect with these sorts of people because you're around them the most. You see them the most. They contact you, you contact them for various reasons. So it's easier to connect with them. But, and I think we've all known this, anybody who's been involved with network marketing for more than 30 days, you know that these are the people who typically give you the most resistance. These are the people who are the most skeptical. And the reason for this is not because you're a bad person, it's just the nature of human beings. The people that we're close to, they typically are the most skeptical because they don't know you as a network marketing professional. They don't know you as a multi-million-dollar earner. I can even think to people now, even though we've done amazing things in our business, being close to 4 years in this particular company, there are still people that I will contact, and even people who know of my success, because they're in my warm market, they don't see me as an expert. And that's normal. That's normal. And that is why in network marketing in general, you're going to see a lot of this next week when we go into presenting. But this is why third party is so important, using third party tools. So just understand and just make sure it's a given that you understand that your warm market, they're supposed to give you the most resistance. They're supposed to be skeptical human beings. That's just the nature of the beast, okay? So hopefully you guys understand that. Now, when it comes to your warm market on Facebook, this is great for your warm market. Facebook is great in particular connecting with your family, friends, classmates, coworkers to an extent, but typically friends, family, and classmates. What I always recommend, especially if you're starting fresh with Facebook, is you want to start off by adding the people closest to you, your parents, your children, brothers, sisters, cousins, nieces, nephews, and the like. So you want to make sure that you exhaust that. Even if there are some people there, like for instance, friends of friends, or maybe people you went to school with, but you didn't necessarily talk to them every day, that's still on the cold or on the warm market side of things. So you want to use Facebook to really firm up those connections. That's a great way to start. And then, of course, if people are giving out their Twitter handlers, and then you can add those as well. Now, on LinkedIn, as you guys already know, LinkedIn being a professional website, you want to connect with coworkers. You want to connect with previous and current coworkers. Also, again, classmates. Classmates is kind of like the dividing line. You can connect with classmates literally anywhere, but LinkedIn is great for that. And then also your professional contacts. So while Facebook obviously really is a true social networking site, LinkedIn is more of a business, more of a professional networking site. Either way, you still want to use LinkedIn to connect with people. And so typically, if someone were to look at my Facebook and compare it with my LinkedIn, Facebook certainly, I would say more often than not, contains many of the people that I know very, very well. Typically contains my warm market, but typically people who know my personal side. Whereas LinkedIn, these are people that I still know, but they're on the business side. So hopefully that makes sense. And that's what comprises of your warm market. Now, compared to that, you have your cold market. Now, you want to also use social media to find people that you don't know. And so there, I've heard this in various trainings. Now, you have your warm market on one side and your cold market on the other side. Obviously, where can you find more people? More people are always going to be in your cold market. There's always going to be more people that you don't know versus then that you know. So your cold market, you want to use social media to connect with these individuals as well. So these, any social media website can work. Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, etc. I mean, you could connect with people that you don't know anywhere. That's the whole point, right? Social media. Now, the thing is, it's harder to connect with these people. But again, given the example that we just spoke about, the resistance is less common, believe it or not. A lot of people conventionally, people might think, well, it's conventional wisdom. If they don't know you, it's harder to it's really harder to get your ideas and prospect them. It's really not. And here's the reason. The reason why is because, again, if you've done specifically, if you've gone through our first couple of modules, and if you understand how to prepare and to provide content, it's very easy. It's much easier to actually come off as an expert, and easier to prospect. It just is. That's just the nature of the beast. Now, some extra tips and tricks for cold market prospecting, and this is just a little something that I've done that many of others have done as well. If you haven't done this, guys, especially if you don't have a common last name, if your last name is very unique, you can friend others with your last name. Check that out. You can actually join. I'll even take that a step further. What I've actually done, not only have I friended other people with my last name, but I've actually joined family reunion groups, family tree groups, all sorts of things that have allowed me to connect with so many more people. We actually have a couple of individuals who are getting ready to join our business who have my last name, and we are absolutely not related. But these are individuals that I found simply by searching on my last name, finding things in common, and becoming friends with these individuals. All right. And of course, and I'm going to talk about, what your language should be when you're talking to these individuals. But the idea is that when you contact these individuals, you could just start off by saying, hey, cousin. All right. Again, especially if you don't have a common last name, it's so much easier and it makes things run much more smoothly. Okay. And that's much easier on Facebook. Now, again, friend others in your class. Okay. Friend other people, again, that you've gone to school with, but specifically people who are in your graduating class, people that you don't know. That's a wonderful thing because I'm telling you, if you could just find a common thread, like the same school, same place of employment. I didn't put employment on this slide on purpose because there is some gray area with that, but there's absolutely no gray area in terms of friending people, current and former classmates. It's always a great way to kind of really get your feet wet with cold market prospecting. Okay, so now you might be saying to yourself, because that's the easy part. Okay, we can add friends, we can follow people, we can have people follow us back, especially if we provided some great content. But once you connect, this is where a lot of people's prospecting strategies sort of fall apart. Now, so once you connect with somebody, you always want to thank them for the connection. Because the goal with this is you don't want to just be a spammer. Because when people connect you, when people connect with you, and I'll go over this in a moment, but when people connect with you, they're wondering why. They're wondering who you are, what your purpose is for connecting. And so you want to kind of make it clear. And so once you connect with someone, you could send them a quick note, genuinely compliment them. You can say, like for instance, on LinkedIn, something I do all the time is once someone has chosen to connect with me, and once I have requested to connect with somebody and I see that they've accepted it, I'll go on LinkedIn, I'll send a quick note in the subject line saying, hey John, thanks for the connection. And in the body of the note, I'll break the ice. I'll say, hey, thanks for the connection. You have a very impressive background, or you seem to be extremely sharp, and that's why I added you. And then you could even ask them a question about their background. But usually when I connect, I don't pour it on too thick. All I simply want to do is establish a positive association. When they see my name, they think about, oh, okay, that was the friendly guy who connected with me. I can think of several people that I've recruited. I can think of a realtor that I recruited, and that all started with just a simple connection and then complimenting her. I remember complimenting her. Eventually, she was sending me a couple of listings. I was looking at purchasing some property. But the whole idea is that, again, you just want to lay the groundwork so that once you connected with someone, now you have a basis. They're not a complete stranger. They're still cold market, but maybe not as cold as they were prior to you connecting. And so here's a common mistake that too many people do. Too many of us are so impatient, we want to just throw up our opportunity. Now, if you're a novice, one thing that you might be doing is that you are sharing your opportunity way too early. If they don't know you, like you, or trust you, chances are they're not going to want to join you in business. So you don't want to immediately share your opportunity. You want to give them time to kind of figure out who they just added. So that brings me to the next slide, okay? This is what I actually like this slide. I really like this slide because these are some things that I wish I knew way back when, but I'm glad I know them now. Now, what you want to understand is that many people you don't know are initially leery about why you chose to connect. Okay? They're initially very, very leery. And it's okay. Get used to that fact. Whenever you're meeting someone new, chances are they're evaluating you. All right? All guys and girls, especially guys, should know this, that when you're dating, when you're out there dating, you're at the club, you're out there meeting new women, right? Most women are going to be a little bit leery about you. They don't know your intentions, okay? So your goal is to disarm them. And it's the same thing in this business. When you add somebody, disarm them. Now, on the flip side, for all the ladies who are tuning in. Now, for different reasons, guys are wondering why you added them. In many instances, especially younger guys, a lot of guys may not know whether or not, especially if you happen to be very attractive, a lot of guys might be wondering, well, okay, is this a potential romantic interest? It's usually not an issue on LinkedIn so much as it is on Facebook. So that's something that you want to be cognizant of, ladies, that your goal is not only to disarm them, but to also help them understand the fact that you've added them for professional reasons. Okay. And if you've done modules, the first couple of modules effectively, then chances are, if that is the sort of person you want to recruit, then they will immediately understand that you are a person, you are a lady of business. Okay. So also understand that when you first add somebody, most of your new connections, friends, or followers, they're ravaging through your photos. They're ravaging through your videos, and they're looking at your profile information to learn more about you. This is why this is not the first module. This is why we went through those first two, because the thing is, if you didn't have a good bio, if you didn't have great content that you were posting, then that almost makes all of this, it makes this useless. All right, it makes it useless if you've added somebody, but yet you didn't have that groundwork. So now they just see you as just a regular person, for lack of a better term, or an average associate versus an expert, someone who can get them to their dreams and goals. You want to put that image forward, or at least someone who can guide them in that direction. I'm not saying lie. I'm not saying not tell them the truth. All I'm simply saying is that you want to make sure that you have that aura out there. Okay. And you also want to turn your cold prospects warmer by finding things in common, commenting on their statuses, and finding additional ways to connect. So a great example, you add somebody. Okay. You can establish the fact that you guys went to the same school, or maybe you even went to rival institutions. All right. So for instance, I went to Hampton University, but I constantly look for people who went to Norfolk State and Howard because they were our rivals. So regardless of what school you've gone to, maybe even if you've exhausted that school, which is almost impossible to do that, but let's say you've done that, well, why not add your rival school? All right. Maybe bring up some common memories, especially if you can find people who graduated around your year. And mind you, we're only talking about people you've gone to school with. You could do this with work. If you work for Coke, why not look for people who work for Pepsi? Compare notes. Have a friendly dialogue based on those commonalities. If you find things in common with people, you're going to establish something that's called rapport. The more you do that, the more success that you're going to have. Okay. Now, another thing is you can comment on their statuses. Look to see what they care about. Okay. You can usually typically find out that person's personality type based on what they care about. If they're constantly talking about giving back, if they're constantly talking about personal development, you can find things and find some common areas and find ways to comment on their statuses so that, they'll feel, this person is just like me. And people typically associate and do business with people who make them feel comfortable. And those are people who are like us. So hopefully that conjures up some ideas. Hopefully you guys are taking notes and making sure that this is something that you can really use and put forward. Okay. So now you want to avoid these common mistakes. There are some mistakes that a lot of us are making out there right now, and you want to really stop this and nip this in the bud. One of these mistakes is to appear too eager or pushy. Okay. Appearing too eager or pushy. Now, there's a fine line with being, I guess, aggressive or ambitious and being too pushy. So an example of being too pushy would be, again, once you've connected with somebody, you're immediately asking them if they keep their business options open. And I say this because people do this with me on nearly a daily basis. Now, I am not in the market for looking at other network marketing businesses, but even if I were, the way that other people are attempting to prospect me from other businesses, many times they'll see me, on some personal development groups and things of that nature. But a lot of times when those sorts of individuals are attempting to prospect me, all in that initial note, they're trying to get to know me, they're asking questions, and they're prospecting me at the end, and they send their link, which leads me to the second point. Don't send unsolicited links. Here's a great goal. Never send a link without a person giving you permission to do so. You always want to ask, all right? Ask or invite, but never just send a link out of nowhere, okay? And that leads me to the third bullet point here, which is to post pitch statuses, all right? Thinking that this is prospecting. There are so many people who say, yeah, I'm on social media, I'm prospecting. There's some people that I'm coaching where in our initial coaching call, if any of you guys want coaching, one-on-one coaching, let me know. But there's some people that I'm coaching on a one-on-one basis, and they're telling me, hey, I've been trying to use social media to really improve my business, and I don't know why people just really aren't giving me a second look. And I'll go to their page, and every other status is about, I'm only looking for 3 people. Come join my team. Come join me. Join my business. You can make a lot of money. There's absolutely no value, and all you're doing is pitching. That is not prospecting. And what you're actually doing is you're pushing people away from you. You want to stop doing that. You always want to be in the mode of either telling stories or providing value. Just like we spoke about last week, always try to provide value, but don't mistake pitching on your wall, on your Facebook statuses, in your Instagram, all over social media, thinking that you're actually prospecting, because you're not. So again, like it says here, prospecting is really what happens when you connect with other people. And the best way to connect with them is initially connect with them using a direct message or a message directly to that individual, or, and even better yet, either on the phone or in person. And we're going to talk about how you transition from the internet to the phone and eventually in person. So now here are some friendly steps to prospecting. Here are the 4 friendly steps. I've gone over this in the past, but step number 1 is you always want to find things you have in common. Find things you have in common with that individual. Secondly, address them by name. People love hearing their names. Okay, people love it, especially when you're meeting someone for the first time, especially in that first note, because at least that that kind of lowers people's defenses. A lot of times when people get notes from new people, they don't know whether it's spam or not, and it just grabs people's attention when you address them by name. Third, compliment them, and make it a genuine compliment. Don't give the same compliment to everybody. If I'll give you a good example. I definitely won't give the lady's name, but there's a young lady who's on our team, and she posted a status update very recently, and her hair was not done at all. But she was just having a great time. She's having a great time at home. Now, if I was prospecting her, I would not tell her, "Hey, you seem like a really sharp person," because she knows you're full of crap, right? She knows that her hair wasn't done. Okay, she knows that she wasn't on top of her A game. But instead of saying something like that, you could say something, hey, you seem like you have a lot of fun. You seem very social. All right. That would be genuine. Okay. Because she certainly did. And so you want to make sure that whatever you're complimenting somebody on, make sure it's genuine. Here's a great exercise. When you go out today or tomorrow, or even for the next week, always think about, even if you're not directly prospecting individuals, just find a way to compliment everybody that you see. Number 1, what that will do is that will heighten your senses. You'll be constantly thinking of things that positive things that you can say about people. So for instance, if you happen to see somebody, maybe they aren't the best dresser, but maybe they just have a smooth walk. That's an example of something you can compliment somebody on, even though that'd be a strange compliment, but you get the gist. You can always find something to compliment them on. And if you can't, well, guess what? That's probably somebody that you should not be prospecting. Okay. So that's step 3. And step 4 is to ask a question that provokes a response. Okay. So the example that we gave here, and the example that I give all the time, is you could say something like, hey, Lisa, I saw you online. I noticed you were also a UPenn graduate in 2005. You look extremely sharp and appear to be a public speaker. What is it that you do? Okay. Now, chances are, unless there are some red flags set up in your profile, or maybe Lisa has an issue, or maybe she just doesn't log in, but with the exception for that, that's a very good message. It's It's a very good first message also. So that's something that would more than likely get a pretty good response. Okay. So you always want to keep that in mind. And we did all four things in that one statement. We found something we had in common. We addressed her by name. We complimented her, and we asked a question that provoked a response. Okay. So even if you don't do this all in one message, that's fine. That's okay. The whole idea is that you are approaching them. And once you approach them, well, guess what? You can now take it a step further. Okay. Give me one quick moment. Make sure that our audio is good. Okay. So now what we also want to do, make sure I have my slide up here. Okay. Now what we also want to do is we want to make sure that in the midst, like once we've connected with someone, once we've sent that first message, hopefully they've replied back. And that's a really good sign as to whether or not you're doing a good job with respect to providing good content, if you're not being too spammy, if if you prepared effectively in terms of having great stuff on your profile. A great litmus test is if you connect with somebody, you sent that initial note and they're not replying back at all, it's time to back up. I would review the first parts of this course over and over again and make sure that you're not missing anything, because people should be replying at least out of courtesy, just to acknowledge the fact that you sent that initial note. Okay, so once you've connected, now you're at the point where you want to make sure your conversation is flowing. And so, of course, an example of conversation flow through social media, I'll give you a good example. Let's first start off with Facebook. Facebook, it's quite simple. Your conversation will be in your message. Okay, you'll be messaging each other back and forth. On Twitter, Twitter is a little bit more interesting. Let me give you a quick Twitter tutorial. With Twitter, okay, obviously you're posting content, you're sharing photos and links to videos in your status updates, okay, on your Twitter posts, on your tweets. Now, from time to time, you might have someone who will retweet you, or maybe you'll notice that somebody has followed you. When someone has followed you, you're able to actually click on your followers, and you'll see that that person has floated up near the top. If that person is a follower, well, what you can now do is you can actually tweet them back. You can not only tweet them back, but they'll see it, but you can also direct message them. If you are following each other, you can message them directly. All right, but only if they're following you back. So with Twitter, it's a little bit more tricky. You have to definitely have a pretty good connection with somebody to make them want to follow you. All right, I am not a big fan of asking someone to follow me unless there is a very, very good reason. All right, a lot of times people on Twitter don't even understand how it works. So I'll give you an example. One prospect of mine in particular, who's very close to getting started in her business, I knew that she wanted to connect with me more because she commented on one of my statuses. She started to ask questions. She said, contact me. But the problem was I could not direct message her because she wasn't following me. Okay, she just happened to she probably just saw one of my updates through a search or something similar. So what I had to do was I had to tweet her and I had to ask her to follow me so that I was now able to direct message her. Hopefully that makes sense. Twitter is a little interesting like that. Instagram, on the other hand, for the most part, I know there's some exceptions, but with Instagram, the easiest way to connect with somebody is simply to leave them a comment underneath one of their photos. If you leave a comment, usually with Instagram, what I typically try to do is I typically will ask them to leave me their email address. And then I'll send them an email right away. Okay? Because that way, guess what? At least you're able to kind of connect with them and get in touch with them as quickly as possible. Okay? So hopefully that makes sense. And with LinkedIn, it's very similar to Facebook in that people, of course, can message you directly. Okay? So when you're conversing with folks, you want to go through form, which is family, occupation, recreation, and money. This is pretty standard in multi-level marketing, no matter what company that you're in. And that simply means that in a conversation, you could typically ask how they're doing, how the family's doing. You can learn a little bit more about them. That all kind of falls into the realm of family. Then you also have occupation. Ask them what they do for a living. Find out how that works. See, and then always seek to try to connect. So always ask, or mention the fact that either you or you know somebody who does what they do. All right. Find ways to just relate to them. Also with recreation, ask them, hey, it's getting warmer out there. What's the weather like? What are you doing for fun? What's on tap this weekend? And typically what will typically happen is that the conversation will usually get into money. Or if it won't get into money, it'll get into time. They'll basically uncover one of their pains. All right. A lot of times, and I find this more often than not, people just don't have the time to do what they want to do in life. And so once you've discovered their pain, you can use your opportunity to address their pain. Okay. This is a great kind of tool that I've always used. 9 times out of 10, I usually don't even have to bring up what I do. People either ask or they're bringing up their pain. And then I'll ask them, I'll dig into the pain a little bit. I'll ask them how long that they've had that pain. How long has time been an issue? But you always want to be a good judge of their tone, soften your pitch when necessary. And even online, you can soften your pitch, but be a good judge of their tone. And you always want to make sure that you are doing this with multiple people. You don't always want to be focusing all of your energy just on one person. When you do that, people will feel the pressure and they're not going to want to join your business. So like it says there, you want to spend less time with more people. You always want to take the time to really see how you can prospect a lot of people in a shorter period of time. You'll have much more success. Okay. So now your approach, all right, your first approach, and there's basically 3 main approaches. There's several more. I basically coined a lot of this from Eric Worre, GoPro. If you guys don't have it, check out GoPro and network marketing, because basically your approach offline and online is very similar. All right. There's actually very little difference, because you're either going to use one of these 3 approaches in most of your prospecting. You have your direct approach, your indirect approach, and your opinion approach. Now, in your direct approach, this is best for close friends and family. You simply want to ask them if they keep their business options open. Okay, with your indirect approach, this is best with cold market. Now, if it's someone that you don't know, asking them if they keep their business options open may not be appropriate if you have not really taken the time to establish a lot of rapport. So the indirect approach is typically best for your cold market. You could usually ask them, who do you know who might be looking for a way to make extra income? Who do you know? Now, that approach is even good with your very warm market, because a lot of times they might be a little bit skeptical about you, and many times they are, right? So in those cases, if you really feel like this is the sort of person who would more often than not shut you down, then you could use the indirect approach with them as well. Okay. And then you have the opinion approach. This is best for persons of greater influence. So you could ask them, of course you want to compliment them. You want to ask them of their opinion. You say, you know what, you're someone that I've always admired. You're very sharp. You're intelligent. You know business. Would you mind giving me your opinion on something? Or could you give me your feedback on something? Let them know you're excited about it, but also let them know that you would really value it if they could actually give you their stamp of approval. Your whole idea is just to find a way for them to get to look at your third-party tool, whatever that might be. And so we're going to, again, talk about third party next week. Excuse me. So you want to make sure that whatever approach that you're using, you want to make sure that you're again using them, and your whole goal is to get them to say yes, so you have permission to share what you have. Okay? Now, here's how you actually transition offline. A lot of times people, and I noticed this typically amongst individuals who've been in the profession for a very long time, maybe they don't have a lot of knowledge on social media. And I'll talk about the fact that with social media, you can't really build a true relationship. And that's absolutely false. All right. There's many individuals in our organization, top producers in our organization, who are doing extraordinarily well. And these are people I would have never met if it weren't for social media. I certainly wouldn't have the business I would have if it weren't for social media, because I've cultivated those relationships, and most of those began online. And so here's how you actually transition the conversation offline. So once you've had a good dialogue with individuals, and once you've actually asked them if they keep their business options open, they say yes. Okay. Your goal now is to set up an appointment. You want to set up an appointment after maybe sharing a link. In many instances, you're going to share a link. We're going to go into that a little bit next week. I'm kind of hopping over it because presenting is a beast unto itself. But your whole idea is, once you've shared, let's just say you shared an online presentation link that they can view it. Well, your goal is to first off set up an appointment, then firm up the appointment by offering your phone number first. And you want to do it in a way so that when you offer it first, most times people are going to offer you theirs in return, just out of courtesy. So that is a key, especially with cold market. You always want to find ways to disarm them by typically offering your information first. And after that information is exchanged, you want to exit the chat. You don't want to keep the conversation ongoing. You want to, for lack of a better term, you really just want to get to the point. You want to put up or shut up, get to the point, and get offline. The problem is, and this is another mistake, is that once people have already accomplished their objective, they keep the conversation going. No, you always have to come across as someone who has stuff going on, who's busy, who's in a hurry, so to speak, because people are going to value your time more. If you just keep things going long after you've gotten all the information that you need, that's a big mistake. You're not going to continue to build rapport. Okay? Once if you prepared effectively, again, if you're providing content and you've gone through at least enough information to the point where someone's sharing their pain with you, you've accomplished all those objectives. So at this point, share the info, set up an appointment, firm it up, and then after the information is exchanged, exit the chat. So here's an example, kind of a sample dialogue. You can ask someone, so how soon or when do you think you could check out the information? They'll eventually tell you. Sometimes people have to think about it. There'll be a pause. Sometimes people say, well, I'll get back to you. And then, if they say something like that, in the back of my mind, I'm saying to myself, okay, they already kind of have a strike. But what I'll do is I'll say, well, just so, and I'll say, I'm sure you're probably very busy doing what you do. I'm also very busy as well. How about just giving me a time? Because in that way, I'll know I'll check in with you after you would have definitely have seen it. Okay? People can do nothing but respect that. You acknowledge that you're busy, acknowledge that they're busy, and then again, ask them to just give you a time and day when they think they'll be able to look at it. Now, once they give you a time and day, say, great, let's touch base on, or I'll call you on. So you're going to specifically give them a time and day after the time and day that they give you. So if you say to someone, hey, so when do you think you could check out the information? They tell you, I could check it out Tuesday at 5 p.m. Definitely, I'll check it out then because I'm getting home from work, and that's an early day for me. I'll say, great. So if I followed up with you Tuesday about 7 o'clock, you would have seen it for sure, right? All right. Now, a lot of times people say, yeah. Other times people might say, well, on second thought, I'll look at it Wednesday afternoon. I won't work on Wednesday. I'll have an extended lunch break. And then you say, okay, great. So if I followed up with you Wednesday evening at 6 o'clock p.m., you would have seen it for sure, right? Either way, what you're going to try to do is, once they give you a time, counter offer that time with a time just a little bit ahead of what they gave you. And then just throw that back at them. Once you've given a commitment, say, great, and then also leave your phone number. Leave your phone number, and also ask them what a good contact is for them. Say, hey, here's my phone number. What's a great phone number for you? I'll contact you on X, Y, and Z date. Now, they'll leave their number. If they're not serious, and I've seen this, if they're not serious, they say, oh, well, I'll call you. They'll never call, ladies and gentlemen. If someone ever says, oh, just give me your business card, and this is even for offline as well. someone says, give me your business card, or I'll call you, or I'll email you, it will never happen. Okay? And when I say never, I mean 0.0000001% of the time. When people say that, they're telling you in a polite way that they're not interested. For one reason or another, they don't have the rapport with you, they're not open, they're just not open to an opportunity. It's not necessarily a reflection on you, but what you want to do when they do that, just say, you know what, no big deal. Maybe this just isn't for you. And you just turn around and walk away, or politely exit the chat. Say if ever you want to look at it in the future, let me know. But what I don't do, and I make this a habit, and this is just kind of an offline technique, when it comes to people that I'll meet and I ask them if they have a business card and they say, well, no, but I'll just get yours. I'll say, well, you know what? Why don't you write your name and number down, or your email address, at least an email address, and I'll be in touch with you. If they don't even want to give me that, then I will actually pull back. I'll say, well, you know what? This probably isn't for you right now. No big deal. It was definitely a pleasure meeting you. And I'm keeping my business card. Why? Well, because my business cards cost money and I only exchange information. Okay? And I'll tell them. I'll tell them in a very nice way. And that's something that you always want to do. It's something called posture. You want to have the posture that you have something of value. And if they're not even willing to give you an email, let alone a phone number, then you don't want to even go there. Okay? So once they leave their information, you say, great, I have to run. I look forward to chatting with you then. And let that be that. So that's how you transition offline. So now, and even after the dialogue, you can even send them a quick text message saying, hey, look forward to touching base with you. A great technique is maybe 12 to 24 hours before you're going to check in, send them a text message and say, hey, just in case you didn't have it, this is my phone number. Look forward to talking to you, later tonight at 6 o'clock, or whatever that might be. It's a great technique. It reminds them, and then also it shows them that you're sharp and that you're professional. Okay? So that is what I consider something that will really tighten up your business and help you transition offline much more effectively. Okay, so that being the case, and this is how we're going to close off this particular session, and hopefully all that made sense. And for all of you guys who have questions, definitely jump onto the phone line right now, because we will be having a short Q&A like we've been having at the end of all of our sessions. But what I'm going to talk about now is something that served me extremely well, and that's having a standalone voicemail system. And as a matter of fact, I will be doing an advanced training somewhere down the line on really how to set this up. But I want to give you guys the basics and really show you guys what I've done to really help build a thriving organization through cold market and in large part through social media. So what is a standalone voicemail system? This is just fancy schmancy for just having a phone line where someone will call it. And when they call it, it'll immediately go into your voicemail, and that voicemail will be customized so that they leave their information. That's it. So someone's going to call a phone number. They'll call that number. You'll have a message that automatically plays, and then after it plays, they'll hear the beep, and ideally they'll leave their name and their phone number. That's it. But the whole idea, all right, is that you want another number, especially as you start to go more into cold market. You don't necessarily want to have your personal information out there all the time. Here's something that I've learned. What will happen is if you constantly put your own personal phone number out there, you're going to realize it's a mistake, especially once you start to get good at cold market. Here's what I mean. It's a mistake because you'll start to notice that you'll be put on dozens of robocall lists. You'll be put on all kinds of soliciting lists. There's a lot of other internet marketers out there who are unethically just throwing people on robo lists, just in the hopes that just a small percentage will actually bite. And unfortunately, what that's done is that's made it so much harder for us who are doing this ethically to do this correctly. So what you want to do, this is a great layer as you start to get more and more into cold market, which is what you should do. All right. that is that you want to eventually have a standalone voicemail system. So whenever you put out an ad, whenever you put out anything of the like, I even say for YouTube videos, if you go to any one of my YouTube videos, you'll see I have a phone number. And that's not meant for any other network marketer to call, even though other network marketers call it all the time, which is something else that you'll have. When you start to hit high ranks and when people start to recognize you, and this is not just me, even for the individuals who earn well above what I do, who are doing 5, 6, 7, six or seven figures a month, those individuals obviously have a lot of people who need help, who want to connect with them, even people on their own teams who want help. So the thing is, not that you don't want to help everyone, but you don't want your phone to be ringing on end. So how do you have a way where you can have people cold market that you've never met? How can you have a layer where they can connect with you, but yet you're not necessarily exposing all of your information, and you're not at the whim of robocalls and people that you don't necessarily have time to talk to? All right, let's just be honest. That is a standalone voicemail system. That's what it's for. And so this will really help you. And this is something that you want to be available 24 hours a day. All right. If you're very aggressive in your business, you don't want your phone to stop ringing, but you still want to get a little bit of sleep. You do that with a standalone voicemail system. Now, there's lots of great services out there. One that I use is Google Voice. However, with Google Voice, unfortunately, if you have a Gmail or Google account that's less than a year old, some of your capabilities might have been chopped just a little bit. But Google Voice is still a great service. You can, with Google Voice, you can actually enable something called Do Not Disturb, and that'll allow all of your phone calls to go right into voicemail. It's a great service for that. Okay. So now, with the standalone voicemail system, again, enable Do Not Disturb. These will allow your calls to go automatically to voicemail. There's several services out there, though. Now, Google Voice, the big drawback behind it is that your messages, the voicemail that you leave, I believe can't be any longer than 60 seconds. It might be 45 seconds. So the thing is, I suggest that when you leave or you create a standalone voicemail message, that you mimic your company's 2-minute overview as best as you can. Make it personal, okay? But mimic your company's overview. So whatever your company does, simply let them know, and you don't even necessarily even need to give them the name of your company, all right? Because you don't want people to necessarily go out there, start Googling the name of your company, and now they see 1 or 2 scam videos, and they're like, oh, it's a scam, I'm not doing it. But you want to let people know the fact that, you want to, and I'll give you guys a basic script. You could let people know that you thank them for calling, and that whatever the reason that prompted them to make the phone call, it's probably because, like so many people, they're looking for a better way of life. All right. So once you've said that, then boom, now you can go into the attributes of your company. You could say, our company, instead of saying the name of your company, say our company has done this. Our company is in its whatever year, however years you've been running. Our company has been featured in this magazine. It's been compared with that company. It's helping people escape the rat race. It's helping people live their dreams. You could talk about the fact that people like Warren Buffett and Donald Trump and Robert Kiyosaki endorse this profession. And then at the very end, you could say, if you'd like more information about this exciting opportunity or this exciting business, leave your name and number, and I will call you back with this exciting information. Thanks for calling and have a great day. And then they'll hear a beep, and then they leave their name and number. I know I went through that kind of quickly, but that's why all these sessions are recorded, so you can play it back. But again, the whole rubric and the whole idea, mimic your company's 2-minute overview, which should just cover the attributes of your company. Hi, and thank you for calling. Like so many other people out there, you're probably calling because you're looking for a better way of life. Boom. Now our company is in its whatever year. We're helping people escape the rat race. We've been featured here. We've done that. We're in this industry. What if you could get paid every time somebody does this, right? Whatever your company does, whether it's vacations, services, vitamins, whatever it is. The bottom line is, however many times that they do it, if they could help other people do the same thing, well, guess what? They're getting paid. So you can kind of just use that script for whatever your company does. Now, at the end, all right, again, invite more folks who want more information to leave their number and provide their number for a callback. When you do that, guys, you're going to get, especially if your marketing is done pretty well, you're going to get a lot of people who just leave their information. Now, again, I'll warn you, you're going to get a lot of robocalls if you do this effectively. You're probably going to get a lot of people, especially as you climb the ranks of your company. Once you've hit, I would say, your third, your fourth, your fifth rank, you're going to get a lot of people in your company who want to contact you, and that's okay. I say it's okay because it's so much better than them just ringing your cell phone. Now you're kind of at the mercy of your cell phone. But the whole idea with your standalone voicemail system, especially as we progress further into 2015, 2016, 2017, and so on, these standalone voicemail systems are becoming more and more advanced so that when people are actually leaving a voicemail, you'll immediately get alerted by email. All right. You can have it set up so that you'll get emailed every time someone leaves a voicemail message. You'll be emailed in many instances. Right from that email, you get to listen to that voicemail message without even having to call your voicemail system back. It just depends on what service you get. There's a lot of great ones out there. I suggest Google searching standalone voicemail system. All right. Or you can even just purchase another phone line. Purchase another phone line if it happens to be cheaper with your plan, and just have it go right to voicemail. That's another way to do it. But again, what I love about these standalone voicemail systems is that many of them will email you immediately upon someone leaving you a message. Okay, that's a great thing about it. There are several individuals I've recruited this way. They may have seen a video. In some instances, they'll see just some of the content that I'm pushing out there. They're seeing some of the groups that I'm posting in. Sometimes people just find my information pretty randomly, but a lot of times, of course, they'll call the number, they'll leave their information, and boom, now I have their information. And once you have someone's information, you simply call them and you have them, I guess, you pretty much have them take a look at your information. And actually, what I will do, I'll make a point to cover this in our next session in terms of what do you do once you have someone's information through a standalone voicemail system. All right, what do you do? How do you actually present that information? We're going to go through all aspects of presenting in our next module. But with that being said, what I want to do again is I want to actually open up our phone line and actually ask to see who happens to have any questions, any comments on today's session. I know we went through a lot of information like we have been every single week, but I want to give you guys a chance to actually ask any questions that you guys might have. So at this time, for anybody who's on the line, please press *6, and I'll go ahead and we can go ahead and make sure your questions are answered. So who do we have on the line? Please state your name and where you're calling from. All right, do we have anybody out there on the line with any questions? All right, in order to unmute, all you have to do is press *6. Anybody on the line? All right, so I'll take that as a no. So as of right now, you guys have actually, I want to congratulate all of you guys. Definitely pat yourselves on the back for making it this far into our journey with respect to our social media mastery sessions. What I want to definitely do is, again, invite all of you guys, if you did want some personal one-on-one coaching, if you wanted to actually set up a consultation session while actually step through your own profile, make sure you're doing a couple, all the things correctly, we can do that. Anything in particular, we can do that. But hopefully, and I trust that this information has been very, very valuable for you. Just the whole idea, just make sure that as you're prospecting, make sure you're doing your best to connect with individuals, making sure you allow them to get to know you as well as you know them. And that's going to make everything go so much easier. So next week, we're going to go and do a deep dive into presenting, all the various ways that you can present through social media, and also how you can really close the deal and help enroll more people into your business. So with all that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you guys for taking the time to tune in. God bless. This now concludes our third session, and we're actually going to conclude after next week's holiday. We're going to have a week off, but we're going to actually conclude with our fourth and fifth sessions, beginning in a couple of weeks. You guys will be emailed about it in a moment. But until then, guys, thank you so much for tuning into this session. Take care. This is Ricardo Suber, and we'll see you next time. Have a great day.